Very good evening to all of you. This is our 21st presentation of Facebook Live Challenge, and today we have with us Dr. Sai Janani. She is Associate Consultant Anesthesia at Fortis Esport Hospital, Faridabad. She has 5 publications to her name in national as well as in international journals. She has special interest in regional anesthesia, obstetric anesthesia, and perioperative care. She has a special interest in personal finance as well as in reading also. So she is going to talk about saving the savior indemnity insurance. This is very important topic. So please be with us. Please, madam, I'm starting your lecture, and you can start.
Good
Sai,
evening.
ma'am, please.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Sai, anesthesiologist. I'm not an insurance agent, but I'll be speaking about saving the saviors, indemnity insurance, and a bit about some few other strategies also. So let's start for the evening. See, day in and day out, we work for our patients, risking our lives, especially in the COVID era. But let's remember, gone are those days when a doctor was held in high respect. Now it's just a client customer relationship. We like it or not. So the thing is, in this era, it is but natural to protect ourselves with protective indemnity insurance. Are we safe in this era? In the US, National Practitioner Data Bank shows that 2.7% of the claims were for anesthesiology. Though the number of claims reduced over the last decade, the payout in malpractice has increased by 23%. Mean payout has increased by as much as 1 million. Coming to the Indian scenario, this is largely unorganized, but a landmark judgment has shown us that as early as October 2013 itself, Amri Hospital in Calcutta had to pay 11.8 crores to an NRI doctor whose wife died due to alleged negligence. Also, just for missing a small retinopathy screen in a premature newborn, a hospital had to pay 1.8 crore to the client. Now, how safe are we in such a scenario? Despite following evidence-based medicine, standardized institutional protocols, having international guidelines, practice advisories, and following good clinical practices, are we safe? The answer is clearly no. We have this era of negligence where we have to pay compensation. There is a highly anti-doctor atmosphere and downright violence in some areas. We are subjected to media trials and defamation on social media. Now, per case we earn by thousands, and that is how we earn a lakh rupees per month. This is how we know. This is what we know about our practice by ourselves. Now, in these hard-earned money that we get, unlike some other businesses, we are one of the most highly, I can also say predated profession in the society. So this only calls for the need for a indemnity insurance. Now, definition of this indemnity insurance. This is an insurance meant to cover liability falling on professionals as a result of any error or omissions committed by them whilst rendering professional advice. This covers a legal cost, expenses in defense as well as compensation to third parties. However, despite having this insurance, I highly recommend that you have your own personal lawyer to fight these cases. Indemnity insurance only covers civil liabilities, though there are a few insurances now which also cover criminal liabilities once the doctor is acquitted. But till then, you're on your own. Now, civil liabilities, negligence is mostly a civil liability. For criminal, it is not called negligence. Now, negligence is defined by three things have to be proved for it to be called negligence. One is there has to be a duty of care, there has to be a breach in this duty, and there has to be injury, death, or damage as a consequence of this breach. Here, I would like to tell you that this duty of care has to be documented by us. One thing that saves us all is only documentation and documentation alone. If it is not documented, you have not done it. Now, one tip over here is there is something called mens rea or the intention of crime, which has to be proved to prove a negligence. Now, it is very difficult to prove mens rea because there is no intention to kill by a doctor. We are here to treat. So, in our cases, if you have a proper anesthetic plan, proper PAC consent, and an anesthetic plan which is written down, you can prove that the intention was to treat, and what happened has happened by accident. The only place where we cannot do anything is non-presence of the anesthetist during the case. That is the only place where mens rea is very strong. So please take care of that. Now, what does this indemnity insurance not cover? It does not cover criminal acts, loss of goodwill, contractual liability, intentional non-compliance, or violation of any law or ordinance. Now, what are the types of indemnity insurance? It can be a comprehensive cover or a basic cover. What is a comprehensive cover? A comprehensive cover is one which covers even international patients. The territory and jurisdiction are worldwide. If we have international clientele, we should be having one policy which has a comprehensive cover. Then coming to basic cover, this is only for Indian patients under the Indian jurisdiction. Now, this is mostly provided by government companies. It is always prudent to have one basic cover also. The thing is, the insurance companies are profit-making companies which will make profit by denying our claims. Now, if you have a government company, at least you can file an RTI if your claim is denied. Whereas if you have a private company, they are outside the purview of the RTI. So if they deny your claim, it is denied. You can't do anything much about it. Then what is the limit of indemnity? How should you take your indemnity insurance? Now you have to take it for a particular amount which is called a sum insured or limit of indemnity. It is fixed per accident or any one accident limit, and it is fixed per year. That is per year of policy period or any 1 year. Usually a ratio of 1:1 is given for doctors. However, now we have few more insurances which cover more than one accident per year. We'll come to that later. Now, how do I fix my AOA limit? Now, AOA limit is the limit of indemnity. That means it's the maximum amount payable by the company for each accident. Now, this is determined by the inherent risk in the nature of activity. Say I'm an anesthesiologist, I deal with hypoxia, circulatory crash, and brain death, and anything on table. I deal with a lot of critical events. So my inherent risk in nature of activity is high. Then number of people involved, property damage, especially if you have a nursing home or you are a practicing anesthetist with your car and other things damaged. And think of the worst possible scenario that can happen and then fix your amount. Also, I'd like to tell you that there is a retainership clause in our contract nowadays instead of an employee mode of our contract. In this retainership clause, the most important part is there is no vicarious liability of the hospital in case of a negligence. So, if you have such a retainership clause, then you have to take a higher limit of indemnity. Then, any claim made reduces the AOY limit. Now, within the indemnity limit, any number of claims will be paid provided the AOY limit is not exceeded. This means that suppose I have a 2 crore policy and I have taken a policy saying I will have 2 accident covers per year. And in the first claim, if I have to give 70 lakhs, now in the next claim, I will have 1 crore 30 lakhs left. I will not be paid more than this by the insurance company. Now, after taking these policies, let's see the clauses which are involved. In a Facebook poll that I had done, how many of you have read your policy? I think only 5 people have read their whole policy. It is very important to read and know what you are covered for. Now, let us come to one of these clauses in the policy. The first clause is the retroactive policy clause. If you see your insurance certificate that you get, a retroactive date will be mentioned. That means that the policy will cover cases from this particular date. Now, this covers incidents reported in subsequent renewal, provided the occurrence is after the first inception of policy, and there should be a continuous renewal of policy. it is very important that the first reporting of the incident should be made in the year it occurred. Now suppose I have a policy from which I have started in 2016, and there is a incident in 2018, and I have reported that there was some death and this patient is a potential litigant. I have mailed this to the company. Now the patient party makes a sues and makes a court case in 2019. Now by the time the summon and all reach me, it is January 2020 and my next policy has started. Now because this incident happened when I already was registered with this company and had a active policy at that time, I had reported it to them. I have continuously renewed my policy. So now the onus is on the company to pay me. They have to take up this claim. This is called a retroactive policy clause. Now the next clause is the notification extension clause. In this, after a policy period, the policyholder notifies an event as a claim during the period of policy. Now, if accepted by the company, it will deal with the claim. In this, suppose my policy ends in Feb 2021 and an accident occurs in Jan 21 and I have reported it to them. Now, if the person sues in August, then also my claim can be given by the company if they want to. Now here the onus is completely on the company, and so you have to inform them in January itself. Now extended claim reporting clause. In this, a time limit of 90 days from cancellation or non-renewal of policy is given. Now if you notify claims that occurred during the policy period, in this time they can be still claimed. Now suppose I have my insurance policy got over in January 2020 and I forgot to renew it, or I did not renew it, it got lapsed. Now in December 19, if an incident happened and in February the parties use, I can still claim for it because by using this clause, because it is within 90 days from cancellation or non-renewal. Now how to claim? Any event likely to cause a legal liability claim, inform the company immediately. Inform as in writing, by mail, officially, and not by telephone. Okay, and send all copies of summons and warrants. And most companies have options for arranging defense. However, I strongly recommend that you keep your own lawyer locally and pay them a retainer fee and keep in touch with them and take their advice for every high risk case or any case. Suppose there's a blind person, you have to take a video consent, or suppose there are dissenting relatives, or suppose a patient just turns turtle as in mukhargya types. In these things, you should have your own lawyer. That is much better. Now, the insurance companies in India, they can be public or private. Sorry, that's my daughter. They can be public or private. Now, the government companies are Oriental Insurance, National Insurance, New India Insurance, United India, etc. And some private ones are Tata, AIG, ICICI, Lombard, or Bajaj Allianz. This is to help you get a insurance cover in case you don't have. Now, the private companies usually give a comprehensive cover also, and the government companies stick to a basic one. I recommend that you have one basic cover and one comprehensive cover, so that the comprehensive cover covers your international clientele if you have, and the basic cover, in case there's a problem, you can still do an RTI. Now, premium depends on the type of policy, the sum insured, and the number of accidents per year you have chosen. Now, just to give a rough idea, the premium of a basic government policy is as follows. That is, for around 60 lakhs, you have to pay 10,000 rupees. This is for a normal retail policy. Now, there is something called group insurance. This is a scheme whereby a group of practitioners are insured at a discounted premium. This can vary with the size of a group. Now, there are two ways to do this. One, you collect your 10 friends. All of you take a policy at a single time and you bargain with him. Bhai 60 lakhs ka 10,000 ne 1 crore ka 10,000 denge. So this is one type. This can also happen. Now the second type is if you have an IMA or ISA sponsored insurance. Here again, because there are a large number of people, the premium can reduce. Now we'll see this by an example. Now secondly, there was one excuse me, yeah, there was one question by a practicing anesthetist that they have a group practice. Now can I insure my entire group? No, that cannot happen. Now the thing is that this professional indemnity is given for a particular practicing professional, and it can be given for one person. For the company and its tangible and intangible assets, there is a company insurance which is different, but it's not an indemnity insurance. Now, group insurance by ISA and IMA. We come to the example of group insurance. This is given by a distributor called Cover You Company. Now, in IMA, it depends on the state branches. Haryana gives you the same Cover You that ISA gives you. Then the insurance company as such is ICICI Lombard. Because it's a collective group insurance, the price is lesser than the retail price. And in case of existing indemnity policy, send a copy of the pre-existing policy. The retroactive date is transferred onto the new policy, and the highlights are cashless compensation to the party, and you have more than one incidence per year within the sum insured, out of court settlement up to the sum insured, and the cost of defense is also borne by them. Medical legal lawyer panel is given by the company. There is also an IMA or ISA legal help cell as the second line. Any breach of confidentiality and loss of documents are also covered. It also covers criminal negligence once the doctor is acquitted or exonerated from the case. Now, just for a rough idea, for 1 crore here, you will have to pay around 9,700 or 10,000 rupees. Now, there are some other strategies apart from the indemnity insurance that we can take. One is called these are for asset protection. These are not illegal acts but survival acts. Now, they keep the valuable and appreciating assets beyond the hands of law, and our lawyer and CA can be ready to access them. Now, these strategies are: one, you can create private limited companies if you have a group practice. Next is a Hindu undivided family. This is one very good strategy. In this, whatever you earn is put into the account of the Hindu undivided family in a certain ratio, and there is a karta. Though your assets are also divided among the family, the liabilities are also divided. Then is having public or private trusts. This is good for children. You can have a trust in the name of a child and keep depositing it into that. That is usually untouchable, and the child gets it once they attain the age of 18 or become a major. The only thing is it is not reversible. You will have to give it to the child. Okay. Then is partnerships with limited liabilities. Then arrange inheritance directly in the name of spouse and children. Then only depreciating assets are in your name, like car, equipment, etc. And the name of house and others are in the name of the Hindu undivided family or in someone else. The idea is that you should be able to, in case a client literally predates a lot and says, suppose 20 crores, 15 crores, and you have to wipe out your entire savings, that should not come. That situation should not come. You should be able to file for bankruptcy while maintaining a reasonably good life. These strategies are meant to protect, and these are very completely legal strategies, and need some thinking, and you should have a lawyer and CA to get these things done. Now, the take-home message is that malpractice claims can occur to anyone despite following best practices. Indemnity insurance is a tool to protect your hard-earned money and appreciative assets. Choose a suitable policy and a sufficient sum insured. Group insurance is better to reduce premium. Read the document clauses and renew it on time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for excellent presentation.
Now probably I can take questions.
Yeah. I think
Sorry, there was a little.
there will be some question. No, it's okay, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll ask you. I will ask you a question. So, what are the
Sure.
5 points or some summary like thing? Whenever you are choosing a policy, what will you look for in this policy? Like, if I want to read my policy, what thing I will
Okay.
in this
Firstly,
policy?
firstly, while I fill the form, I forgot to say one thing. You have to mention all the work that you do. That is anesthesiology. If you're seeing critical care, if you're seeing a surgical ICU patient, you have to mention. If you're taking peripheral calls, you have to mention. Because even small things like extravasation from an IV cannula are going for compensation. Okay, these our patients have become so bad in that way. Then, secondly, you have to also tell us. You have to mention all the places of work, even if you're doing a charitable work in a charitable hospital in your free time. Even that has to be mentioned. All the nursing homes have to be mentioned. This is one thing. Secondly, while seeing the policy, I have to see firstly the sum insured. Is am I getting a good price for the premium I am paying? Then secondly, I have to see my clientele and I have to see, okay, if I am catering to international patients, are these also being covered? My entire clientele should be covered. Then secondly, my policy should give me what are the clauses? Is there a retroactive policy clause? That is, if suddenly a patient that I have done last year is trying to sue now, then that should be covered. They cannot say that, oh, this was done last year and this is much before your policy for this year. So I have to look for that. Then I have to see if there is what is their claim settlement ratio that we can get from their website. Then thirdly, I would still have a backup sarkari policy, government policy, so that if they deny, I have something at the back. At least if not the entire insurance amount, I get something. And also I will see if there's any co-payment. Sometimes you have to do some co-payment, 10% or maybe after 2,50,000 in different policies. I'll try to see for that also.
Thank you, ma'am. There is another question from Dr. Satkar Pawar. He want to ask whether if I am having IMA indemnity policy, shall I need to go for ISA indemnity or IMA is enough?
Okay, you have IMA indemnity. What type of policy does your IMA give? IMA, different branches are giving different policies. I just came to know that uh, Gujarat IMA started the scheme called PPS, and now even
Yeah.
Kerala and others also have it. And in some of them, it's only up to 30 lakhs and other things. So if you do not have a cover of say 1 to 1.5 crore, you should take another policy, be it from ISA, be it on your own, but you should read the policy document, and if you tell me your state, I'll answer it on Facebook. Which state you are from, which policy you have. If you have your policy certificate or any brochure, just upload it. Then we can give a full one-to-one answer to you.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. So you
Yeah,
can give the answer. A few questions are there, but you can answer them on the
sure,
Facebook
sure. I'll answer them on
wall
Facebook. And
later on.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and
So thank you very
I'm
much,
so
madam, for
thank you so much. I'm so
yes,
sorry. I have a small kid and she was throwing tantrums. I'm really sorry for that.
it's
Yeah,
okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank
thank
you
you so
very
much.
much, madam.
Thank you,
So
sir.
we are going to